I didn't feel joyful. I was scared. I was afraid. And it wasn't anxiety. They were like panic attacks.
She sat in her dressing room, mascara perfect, hair like spun gold, the kind the world believed was sunshine made human, and her hands were shaking, not from nerves, from memory. I didn't feel joyful. I was scared. She once said that, quietly, like a confession. Then she added the part no one expected. They weren't butterflies. They were panic attacks. Goldie Hawn, the giggle that raised a generation. We all thought she floated through Hollywood like laughter in a champagne glass. But behind that smile, there was steel and scars and 6 men who left wounds so deep she carried them for decades. Let's start with the moment the world never saw. Picture this, late 1980s, a table read in a bland conference room lined with bad coffee and worse fluorescent lighting. Goldie shows up early, script highlighted, ready to work. She always was. She came prepared because joy didn't come by accident. She built it. Then Bill Murray arrives, late, loud, a half-empty coffee cup thrown like a dart across the table. Now we can start. He says it like a king entering his court. Goldie laughs politely. That reflex Hollywood had trained into her. But the room feels wrong, static in the air, a storm disguised as a joke. They begin reading. She hits her lines smooth, warm, effortless. She's Goldie after all. And Murray interrupts, sharp as broken glass. Why don't you try acting like you've done drama before? The room erupts in male laughter, not with her. At her. She doesn't laugh. She closes the script, stands up. No snark, no outburst. Just a woman choosing dignity over humiliation. She walks out, and the silence she leaves behind is colder than any insult. Next morning, the studio calls her agent. Goldie's out. No public fight, no statements, just gone. Years later, she said it in one sentence, sharper than any slap. He thinks unpredictability is genius. I think it's exhausting. After that day, her career changed shape. Not downward, just selective. No more tantrum-driven geniuses. No more men who confused chaos with brilliance. She began choosing roles like she chose friends, gently, carefully, without apology. And when someone asked if she'd work with Murray again, no interest. 2 words, door closed forever. Now hold that scene in your mind, Goldie leaving the room without raising her voice. Because with Warren Beatty, she didn't raise it either. She just said one word he wasn't used to hearing, no. It was the late 1970s. Beatty was Hollywood royalty, golden boy, playboy, power broker. Women didn't refuse him, they floated toward him like moths to a spotlight. But Goldie wasn't dazzled. She had been underestimated before. The giggly blonde who wasn't supposed to think, wasn't supposed to say no. Beatty invited her to dinner, then private parties. Then that infamous Beverly Hills Just Us Two evening, every actress understood without needing directions. Goldie smiled, declined, remained polite, and firm. And that's when his charm curdled. She didn't scream. He didn't either. He didn't need to. Doors simply stopped opening. Scripts she'd been promised vanished. Directors who'd been eager suddenly went mute. A producer pulled her aside once and whispered what everyone else was too afraid to say. Warren says you're difficult, not serious material. Not serious material. That phrase would slice deeper than any insult. Because Goldie knew exactly what it meant. He couldn't have her, so he'd erase her. He punished the one thing his ego couldn't swallow, rejection. Years passed. His power waned. Hers didn't. Then fate, cruel, poetic fate, placed them side by side at an awards show. Warren leaned in, smiling like the old days, expecting forgiveness like it was a gift owed to him. Goldie met his eyes, smiled just enough to be polite, then turned her back mid-sentence and walked away. That was her victory, not loud, sharp. Sometimes revenge isn't fire, sometimes it's ice. The third wound wasn't about sex or ego, it was about something more brutal, respect. Early 1980s. Goldie wanted depth, a drama, A role to prove she was more than a giggle and a mini-skirt. A serious film offered the chance. She'd audition with Dustin Hoffman, the genius, the icon. They read the scene. She poured herself into it, hit emotion, rhythm, truth. And Hoffman stopped. Not gently, not privately. He turned to the producers, in front of her, and said, "She's playing it like a sitcom, like she was a child in acting class, like decades of work meant nothing. You know that feeling? When your face stays calm because breaking would give them satisfaction?" She finished the scene anyway, thanked them, walked out, not crying, deciding. Next morning, she called her agent. "I won't fight for respect in a room full of men who already decided I'm a joke." She didn't blacklist Hoffman. She simply removed herself from any world that required her to beg for dignity. Later, someone asked about him, and she smiled, not sweet, but surgical. Some men forget they're not directing the women around them. One sentence, a lifetime of bruise behind it. Foul play looked like magic on film. Goldie glowing, Chevy Chase witty, that on-screen chemistry like champagne bubbles. But off-camera, it tasted like vinegar. Chevy was young, adored, fresh off Saturday Night Live, and walked onto set like the studio belonged to him. He rewrote jokes, mocked scenes, sulked if Goldie got the bigger laugh, and when she did, he muttered, "She's lucky to be here." Lucky. As if Goldie Hawn was an accessory to his punchline. One night after another ego-fueled argument, Chase stormed off set until the scene was rewritten to his liking. Goldie stayed behind, alone on the stairs, fingers pressed to her temples like someone holding in a scream. "He's not funny when the cameras stop rolling," she whispered. "He's just mean." When filming wrapped, the studio begged for a sequel. Millions guaranteed. Goldie didn't hesitate. Not interested. Money wasn't worth misery. She chose sanity over success, something most actors never learn. And privately, she told a friend the sentence that revealed everything. "If I ever have to smile next to Chevy Chase again, I'll quit Hollywood." No sequel was ever made. You'd think age softens a heart, not hers, not about disrespect. 2014, Malibu Charity Gala. Goldie takes the stage to speak on mental health, something she battled quietly while we all mistook her joy for perfection. The room listens, except one man, Sean Penn. He rolls his eyes, loud enough to hear. Another celebrity wellness sermon. When she finishes and receives warm applause, Penn leans back and smirks. She should stick to giggling. Goldie smiles politely, lifts her glass, exits early, dignity intact. In the car, she finally lets truth slip out like a sigh. "My whole career, and I'm still reduced to giggles." From that night forward, if Penn's name was on a guest list, hers wasn't. And then there was Kirk Douglas, Hollywood titan, a man she respected, until he made her feel invisible. On-stage panel, late 90s. Goldie speaks. He interrupts. She shares a thought. He finishes it for her. She gives an insight. He corrects her like a schoolgirl. The crowd laughs when he calls her sweetheart. Goldie smiles. Inside, she freezes. Later, she told a friend, "He talks to me like I'm still the blonde in the bikini scene. I've won an Oscar." That was the last conversation she ever had about him. "Some men," she said, "don't deserve a second act in your memory." We loved Goldie for her light, but she survived Hollywood because she learned how to protect it. She wasn't fragile. She wasn't just cute. She remembered. She drew boundaries. She walked away. Not with drama, with silence. And now, at 79, when she finally speaks, it isn't to name enemies for revenge. It's to let the world know something we should have known all along. That smile wasn't naive. It was armor. So now the question lands back with us, the generation who watched her bloom on tinted television sets and movie screens filled with laughter. Which betrayal still stings you the most? Murray mocking her in a room full of men? Beatty closing doors because she said no? Hoffman slicing her dignity mid-audition? Chase resenting her for shining too bright? Or the final cruelty, being reduced to a giggling blonde her entire life? Tell me what you think, because Goldie Hawn deserved more than laughter. She deserved respect, and she remembers every man who forgot that.